Hey everyone, it's Adam here, aka Cena Guy. We've come to the end of the Silent Night, Deadly Night franchise now. I reviewed part 1, which in my opinion is the best one in the franchise and the only one worth watching in the franchise. Part 2, like I said in the other reviews, is the most worthless sequel in the franchise because it's basically reused footage from the first movie for the first half of the movie. Then we get awful acting from Eric Freeman's character who plays Ricky. Garbage day, and other fuck ups. Part 3 was like the most boring one in the franchise. With Ricky having a dome on his head where you can see through his brain, and it was just one big bore fest, and it seemed like every actor in that was high, slow talking, slow pace. And I'd have to say, Part 4 Initiation was, I don't know what to call that movie, but it was basically a horror movie about witches and fucking giant cockroaches. Something you'd see in a Ladybird book of witches or something like that, but turned into a Christmas version, if you can fucking call it that. But this one, Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 5, The Toy Maker. I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story. When Blockbuster's videos was around, I've been intrigued by horror since I was a little kid, when I was about 6 or 7 years old. My mum used to take me to Blockbuster, and I used to pick a movie, obviously, to rent. And while she was busy looking at other movies, I used to sneak into the horror section. And I was always mesmerised by all these VHS covers. Those great outstanding artworks they have on VHS covers, like the Hellraiser and the Nightmare on Elm Street and all that. Well, one film that stood out to me was Night of the Living Dead, which I've already reviewed, and then there was Jack Frost, The Killer Snowman. But again, another VHS cover that really stood out to me was this movie, Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 5, The Toy Maker. And again, take a look at this. It shows the little boy sitting by his cupboard, looking unhappy, with all these dolls and toys and teddy bears sitting around him, with evil eyes. And again, the cover intrigued me. I was like, this movie looks good. And of course, I was too young to watch horror movies back then. My mum wouldn't let me watch horror movies because my mum hated horror movies. But again, it was something I really wanted to check out. And I should say, about 5 years ago, I wanted to get this movie because I started watching the Silent Night, Deadly Night movies. Like I say, I watched the first one. The second one was easy to get, but again, Part 3, Part 4, and Part 5 seemed like that was rare to get. That was hard to get your hands on. And there was available online, but that was so overpriced and so fucking expensive. But again, I had to see fucking Part 5, The Toy Maker. I thought we was going to see one big gory adventure with all these killer toys and all that kind of shit. Well, anyway, Part 5 was on sale and it was way overpriced. And I'm not kidding you, I'm going to tell you how much that DVD cost me. So I didn't know Part 5 The Toy Maker. You want to know how much it cost me? £25. No word of a shitting lie. £25 that one DVD cost me. And I also brought Part 4 as part of a special offer. But Silent Dinner Part 5 cost £25 from abroad. 25 quid? Who would pay that? But stupid enough at the time, I did. Because I really wanted to see this movie. Because I was so intrigued by the front cover. I had to see it. And it was a 90s movie. That makes it even better. Because horror movies were so much better back then. So anyway, it arrived. And of course, obviously, I'm going to be straight with you. I was disappointed. Again, this movie obviously didn't turn out in the way I wanted it to be. It wasn't like a big gory adventure with killer toys. I was so disappointed, and I got rid of the DVD. But obviously, I've just watched it online moments ago to try and relive what I used to watch and to do this review. Well, this is more of a rant. And again, I should say, out the bunch, Part 5 is the most disappointing sequel in the whole franchise. I mean, what disappoints me so much about this movie is it could have been a making of something special. It could have been a really good horror movie. Killer toys coming to life. I love my over-the-top killer toy movies like Demonic Toys, the Puppet Master. You know, this could have been something like that. I mean, why couldn't we have a horror movie, Silent Dinner Part 5 The Toy Maker, where, I don't know, like, I don't know, what if it was a horror movie about this kid whose parents go away and he's looked after by an aunt or a babysitter, and the aunt or the babysitter get a present on the front doorstep, which turns out to be these people have had a grudge against the whole family, and it turns out to be killer toys. And it could be a survival night between the babysitter and the kid. That would have been epic. We could have killer teddy bears, killer toy soldiers, killer whatnot. You know what I mean? Even I could come up with a good story for this title, Silent Dinner Part 5, the Toy Maker. But I'll tell you briefly what this movie is about. Again, this little boy, he sneaks downstairs and he sees this couple having sex. And there's a knock on the front door, and like I just mentioned, as I stole the idea a little bit, there's a present on the front doorstep. The dad opens it, and it's a toy. And the toy kills the father because it strangles him by the neck. He falls down by the fireplace, and he impales on a poker. And as a result of this, the boy saw the whole thing, and now he's mute. He's mute throughout the whole fucking movie, which is understandable. If a child witnesses his parents dying, I won't have much to say, you know. And I'm thinking, what a way to start off a movie. We're going to have killer toy action in this movie. But to tell you the truth, there's not much killer toy action in this movie. I mean, one thing that this movie tries to do is to pull off a twist. It's not much of a twist. I mean, the mother takes the boy to the toy store to buy him some toys for Christmas. And get this, the owner of the toy store, guess what his freaking name is? Joe Petto. Let me rephrase that. Joe Petto. And his son's name is Pino. See where I'm coming from? Walt Disney Pinocchio. Pinocchio and Geppetto. And I would rather watch Pinocchio than this fucking movie. I'm not putting Pinocchio down. It's a Disney classic. But I would watch that movie any day over this movie. That movie's a masterpiece compared to this heap of shit. So we've got a toy maker called Joe Petto, and his son's name Pino. Geppetto and Pino. And get this, the son all along, Pino, is a fucking robot. He's a giant toy basically that his father Joe Petto made him into. And And, you know, in terms of the death scenes, we get a scene where Geppetto gives a toy to the landlord of this toy store. He ends up dying while driving his car because the toy goes in his mouth and comes out his eye socket. Okay, effect, I suppose. But the toys don't really do shit all for the killings. I mean, what else happened with these toys that were memorable towards the killings? I mean, there was a scene where the mute kid threw away this present and it was roller skates or something, like rocket roller skates. The kid puts his roller skates on and he crashes into a car. He didn't die, he just goes to the hospital, but he didn't fucking die. What other memorable toy scene was there? Like, this toy hand going into this scene where this couple are having sex and it looks as though he's fingering his ass, and while that's happening, these toy soldiers kill the guy. She escapes. They're escaping from this toy aeroplane. And to tell you the truth, there was nothing memorable about this movie. Nothing. I suppose I was a little bit more pissed off back in the day when I watched this movie because of how it turned out, and the fact I spent 25 fucking quid on a DVD on a movie that could have been good, had the potential to be good, and you didn't even need a clever imagination to make a movie like this successful. Just go with the idea what I just said. Have a night of terror with killer toys between a babysitter and a kid in a mansion, you know, throwing a few cops, they get killed by the toys and all that. And you can introduce some interesting toy characters like an evil teddy bear with teeth, or an evil jack-in-the-box like from Demonic Toys, toy soldiers that shoot real guns and all that kind of shit. It could have had a making of something good, but instead we've got this heap of shit where the toys basically did fuck all, you know. We've got the toy maker Joe Petto, who created his son into a giant robot by the name of Pino. And the ending was nothing interesting. You know, Joe Pedro gets killed. Pino gets killed. He gets destroyed. He gets cut in half. And all along he's wanting to find out who his mommy is. And that's pretty much it. I mean, there was nothing to tell about this fucking movie. Silent Identity Part 5 of the Toymaker. Look at this cover yet again. Looking at a cover like that, you'd think you're going to see a bloodfest. You get to see something interesting. I mean, when you look at a movie cover like that when you're about 7 or 8 years old, and you got them evil toys with the evil eyes, you start creating your own ideas from your own imagination and thinking, I could make a good scary movie out of this. You know what I mean? And instead we've got this heap of shit, and I don't know. I don't know, everyone. It was somewhat of a massive disappointment, but I'm kind of glad now I've come to the end of the Silent Identity Night films. I know there's a remake. I've not seen the remake. Who knows in the future, because you never know what happens. I might check the remake out. But I'd rather watch a remake than all these shitty sequels. I mean, if you're going to do a remake, why make a remake of the first movie that was successful and the only decent one? Why can't you do a fucking remake of the sequel or these other sequels that were unsuccessful? So in the long run, will I watch the remake? I don't know. But this is the end of the line here for the Silent Identity Night movies. I want to start reviewing something positive because it's Christmas coming around the corner. I want to be jolly when I'm doing Christmas movie reviews. I don't want to keep wasting my time watching movies that I don't like, ranting on them. But again, when you make a start on a movie, you got to finish off all the rest of the sequels, if they're good or bad. So this Part 5, The Toymaker, is the last one in the franchise. I thank fuck it ended there. So yeah, it is the most disappointing one in the franchise. They're making of a good idea, but they didn't go along with that. Instead we got the shit movie, and again, just like the other movies, it was uneventful, it was boring, uncreative. And again, it's just a major shame it turned out the way it did. You know. What more can I say about Silent Identity Part 5? It's that, please stay away from it. Like I say, I no longer own the video. I gave it away, but again, wasted £25, but it was so rare to get. One good scene only, and that was a scene where the toy went in his mouth and popped out his eye socket during the car crash. That's the only good scene and the only scene I remember. Even just watching this movie moments ago, it was a total forgettable movie, just like the other movies, but one good scene, apart from that scene, it just wasn't worth remembering. You know, and I was expecting to see a great film, especially from a 1990s horror movie. You know, because back then it was over the top and it was crazy and cheesy, but at the same time good. But whatever the fuck this was, it just wasn't worth it. So, didn't like this movie, everybody. Please stay well clear from it. If you want to watch a good Silent Identity Night movie, you only stick to the first one. I recommend that highly, but the sequels don't have anything to do with them. Okay, that's me stating my point loud and clear. So thanks for everyone for watching this. We'll see what happens next. Again, thanks for checking this rant out. Peace out.